Hello everyone, my name is SimpleWeeb and welcome to another video, and today with me I have no one because Dave Gould could not record the video with me. We tried recording and his mic was just not working, but we talked about and he asked this question and I answered him the question he had, but I thought, well, I'm gonna do the SBS anyway with this question and talking about some other things I didn't talk with him, and well, let's go. Well, I guess first honoring our good friend Dave Gould that couldn't just put his microphone to work, we'll answer his questions first. Okay, his first question was Choo Choo and his owner's story. He wanted to know more about the story about of the two, because I didn't explain it that much on the video because I didn't think it was that important. So basically, Choo Choo was a little dog when his owner and him came to Orangetown. And they decided to open a pet shop since there was none in Orangetown. And as sometimes they didn't have the food and they had to get the food and like regular real life stuff almost, because like I said in the last SBS, a lot of the population of the One Piece world is just regular people trying to live by. So there's not really much to the story of the owner. It's just a really touching moment seeing the dog literally crying and barking for the owner's pet shop. And well, the whole thing was that the owner died and Choo Choo kept like living in front of the store and he never left the store. It was inspired in that dog that I think a lot of people heard it. They actually made a movie about it. The dog that waited for his owner at the metro or at the train station. A lot of people know it. I'll put an image there talking about the dog. It's very inspired. How the author of the One Piece series, he has some inspirations on real people and real life stories. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's to make a comparison with the old story of the dog that waited for his owner. His second question though was really good. He asked what's the importance of Buggy in the story, if he'll appear again in the story or not, or he's just like, and also he then mentioned like all the other characters in general, like are they gonna appear or are they just characters that appear once and are defeated by Luffy or something similar and just never come back? And the answer to that question is yes, some characters will appear in the future of the series, like Buggy is one of them, Alvida will also appear, Morgan only in the cover arc, but he's not very important, so it's almost like he doesn't appear, but Buggy and Alvida will appear. And actually, like, the moment is actually coming, it's not that far away in the series. So yeah, they will appear, and obviously, like, when it comes to Alvida, she's not that important, but Buggy is important. After all, he was in the same crew as Shanks when they were both growing. And well, Buggy is also really good comic relief. After all, he literally is a clown, so obviously he is an excellent comic relief. And well, don't forget that Buggy is actually not that weak, since he's almost invincible against swordsmen, right? Like, Zoro is extremely strong. Zoro is one of the strongest characters of the crew, especially now in the beginning. He is clearly like really strong, and Buggy was able to defeat him because his fruit allows him to separate into sections, so he basically cannot be cut. That's also a really good thing about One Piece, is the power leveling is not like Dragon Ball's power leveling. I'm not saying that I don't like Dragon Ball, quite the opposite. I'm a really big fan of Dragon Ball. I grew up with Dragon Ball, and Dave Gould has too. And like, but in Dragon Ball, when the fighting is basically shooting energy blasts out of your hands and punching your enemies real hard, because well, now in the Super they are starting to introduce some other things, but let's be honest, that's the base of the Dragon Ball fighting. And with that, power scaling makes kind of sense, since if I'm stronger than you, I can punch you harder, so I'm probably gonna beat you. In One Piece, it's a little bit different because you have a lot of things that may change your fight. And one of them is, for example, your devil fruit. Since obviously when it comes to strength, Zoro could easily beat Buggy, but since Buggy has the Chop Chop fruit, he can separate himself into pieces, and so he is basically invincible against swordsmen. So yeah, obviously when it comes to strength, Zoro would destroy Buggy, but since Buggy had such a really good advantage against Zoro, since Zoro is a swordsman, Zoro lost the fight against Buggy. And Dave Gould's last question was, does any of the islands from these early arcs come back later on the story? Well, they do and they don't. It's hard to explain. So, I mean, there's one island that will appear, but it's because of a flashback, and the other islands that appear, it's usually because, for example, Luffy's crew got a power-up and they got more bounty now, or something like that, and it's the reaction of the people that knew the members of the crew. But that question is perfect to introduce how the One Piece world is organized geography-wise. So, although that question is technically only answered in the next arc, it's already in the beginning. It's literally the first arc after it's the first chapter after this arc ends. So I'm gonna answer it now because I think it's a good way to introduce the One Piece world. Well, first of all, the One Piece world is a globe. Sorry people that believe that the Earth is flat, and if you think that the One Piece world should be flat, comment down there. I think the One Piece world should be flat, but the One Piece world is a globe. So I'm now gonna put two pictures that I myself made on paint, so they are completely legit, 100% accurate of the One Piece world and how it works. So and I'll kind of talk and you just have to follow with the image I'll put. So in the One Piece world, you have, imagine a sea. You have just a blue sea, and then you have a huge piece of land that divides the world in two. That piece of land is called the Red Line because it's a huge piece of land and it's red, so it's called the Red Line, and it goes all around the globe. Then you have the Grand Line, the place where supposedly the One Piece is. The One Piece is being the treasure that Gold Roger hid on supposedly the last island of the Grand Line. Needless to say, the Grand Line is a piece of ocean. It's actually the biggest ocean in the One Piece, and it goes all around the globe too, only interrupted by the Red Line. The Grand Line and the Red Line divide the world in four. Those four pieces of sea are known as the blues. You have the North Blue, the South Blue, the East Blue, and the West Blue. Each blue has a lot of islands in it, and that's basically where the majority of the One Piece population lives, in the four blues. Now you might be wondering, well, first, where is the One Piece itself? And secondly, why don't people just get in the Grand Line? Well, the One Piece is believed to be in the last island of the Grand Line, since Gold Roger, the King of Pirates, was the only man that was able to reach to go all around the Grand Line. So it's believed that his treasure, the One Piece, is obviously in the last island of the Grand Line. But people can't just access the Grand Line from one of the blues, because between the blues and the Grand Line, and surrounding all the Grand Line, there's a sea called the Calm Belt that goes all around, that surrounds the Grand Line, and it's full of sea monsters. So basically everyone that gets there dies. And not only that, as the name suggests, the Calm Belt is a very calm sea, so there's no wind and no waves. So it's basically impossible to get out of the Calm Belt once you get in. But now you must be wondering, then how do you get in the Grand Line? Because if you want to achieve One Piece, you have to get in the Grand Line. Well, you don't. Okay, just kidding. In the Red Line, there's a place called the Reverse Mountain. The Reverse Mountain has 5 rivers, 4 that connect to each blue and 1 that connects to the Grand Line. And you might be thinking, well, but aren't rivers supposed to go down? Well, that's the thing about the reverse mountain. The rivers that are in the reverse mountain, instead of going down, they go up to the reverse mountain, and then they all follow the same direction to the Grand Line. So once you get in the Grand Line, you can't leave either. And that's all you guys have to know for now about One Piece World. There's actually not a lot of things besides this. And well, before we finish the video and these SBS, that unfortunately we couldn't have Dave Gould here, but before we finish it, we are going to go through the fights that went in the last arc. So in the last arc, Luffy fights against Moji and the Lion Richie, and against Buggy, obviously. In the fights against Moji and Richie, he gets really pissed because the lion destroyed Shushu's treasure, the dog's treasure, and he literally grabs the lion's face and throws the lion to the ground. And let me tell you, it's quite badass. He makes kind of a string with his hands, he spins them, and then he grabs the lion's face, and as he lifts the lion from the ground, he spins the lion and slams the lion's head on the ground. It's so badass. And obviously Moji gets scared watching Luffy literally destroy his dragon, his lion, sorry. And Moji starts asking, "Oh, please don't hurt me, please, don't do anything to me. I'll apologize. I won't mess with you anymore." And Luffy just says, "Well, apologizing doesn't bring Shushu's treasure back." And he grabs him. He stretches his arm to grab him, and he pulls him and punches without even stretching his arm. He just gives a hard punch on Moji, and it's so badass because you are so angry that Moji just destroyed the pet shop. It's so good. It feels so fucking good. And then you have Luffy versus Buggy, and we'll go to Zoro's fights next. Nami doesn't fight in this arc, but in Luffy versus Buggy, not a lot happens, let's be honest. Like, we see some cool techniques from both. The coolest from Buggy is the Bada Bada Festival, where he basically throws all these parts around and starts chopping everything on his way. You have a really cool scene that I did put on the episode itself, where Luffy kicks Buggy in the balls. Oh my god, that fight was hilarious, and that's the main goal of Buggy. Let's be honest, he's more like a comedic relief character. Although he is a threat in this arc, he is kind of a threat. He is dangerous, but not as dangerous as other villains that will come. Yeah, like Luffy defeats him, throwing him with a Gomu Gomu no Bazooka, and Buggy just flies to some place that we'll figure out on his own cover arc. And then obviously you have Zoro's fight, although they're not really good because, well, Zoro starts fighting Buggy already in the beginning before Luffy, and Zoro easily cuts Buggy, but he figures out that he didn't actually cut him because Buggy is a Bara Bara man. Technically, he's made of pieces, so he wasn't cut. And what actually happened is that he separated himself into sections to avoid the cuttings. So right there, Zoro is stabbed in the guts, and he gets really injured. So he already is really weak from that injury. So yeah, the fight against Buggy, it's basically to injure Zoro and to, well, obviously Zoro couldn't defeat Buggy because Buggy was supposed to be defeated by Luffy, let's be honest. But then Zoro fights against Kabaji. He goes to sleep and he sleeps a little bit, but definitely not enough to recover from almost a fatal wound. He goes against a guy that is pretty strong. Kabaji was a worthy opponent, well, to an injured Zoro, obviously, because if Zoro wasn't injured, he would destroy Kabaji. And not only that, Kabaji kicks him in his wound several times. Like, when you're watching or reading that, it's actually nerve-wracking because Kabaji, you can see that Kabaji is not as strong as Zoro, and he's taking advantage of Zoro's injury to kick him in the injury, so he gets weaker and he gets more injured. But after that, Zoro just gets pissed off and uses a two-sword technique and kills Kabaji. He doesn't kill him, he gravely injures him and leaves him unable to fight. And well, let's not forget about the best fight of all, although our favorite character didn't win, Shushu against Richie. Man, what an emotional moment, let's be honest, like the dog fighting for its owners. Like, it's literally something that you can only get by seeing the anime or reading, because it's a really touching moment. While I was editing, I decided to put it exactly because of that. So if you don't feel like watching the whole One Piece, because let's be honest, it's kind of big, and I'm doing this series to promote the One Piece series, to encourage people to either watch it or just catch up to it through the series. And if you really go watch the choo-choo scene, it's very touching. But well, with that being said, I will end the video from here. It's just a shame that Dave Gould wasn't here, but go check his channel, he makes really good content. He's on kind of a break right now because of the exams. I was considering doing the same thing, but I decided no, I'm gonna post a video. I actually don't know if I'm gonna be able to post this until 2 days from now. Like, it's gonna be hard, but I'll try my best. So yeah, with that being said, thanks a lot for asking. If possible, leave your like, subscribe, comment down there. The One Piece world should be flat, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And remember to keep it simple.